Hey everybody, Stacks here. Welcome back to the channel, and this is part 2 in a series I'm putting together discussing emerging threats, potential storylines, and complete speculation on my part. Things I'm seeing and I'm looking forward into what Jonathan Hickman is trying to do, and I'm guessing just as much as anybody else is, just sitting here waiting for the story to roll out. So today I'm going to focus on a couple different, you could call them emerging threats or different storylines, to include some more notorious X-villains such as Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, and then there's another threat on the island that's a little bit more mysterious and probably going to be a little bit more discussion and controversial. Before we get too far into this though, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, comment, leave a like if you're into that kind of thing. And don't forget to check out my giveaway that I'm doing over in conjunction with my Xmen Fantastic Four videos. You can win the whole set, all 4 issues of the limited series. You just got to go and follow the instructions all over there. Make sure you're subscribed, comment on the videos, leave a like, all that stuff. Alright, so of these X-villains I mentioned, Mr. Sinister is the one I want to discuss first, because I believe he is probably the biggest wild card on Krakoa at this time. And Mr. Sinister, of course, he's key to Krakoa right now. He is one of the key inputs for the resurrection process. And in my opinion, he truly represents Xavier and Magneto's deal with the devil. So just to be clear, why is Mr. Sinister important to Krakoa's success? Why is he key to the resurrection process? Well, it's because he is the individual who is providing all the genetic material. He is the genetic specialist that is providing those injections that they put into those gold ball eggs that eventually ends up being matured and developing, aged into a resurrected mutant. Without Mr. Sinister, they don't have the genetic library. What's really interesting about this is they've basically taken him and put him back in the exact same position they did during Moira 6's lifetime. And it was during Moira 6's lifetime that for some reason Sinister basically betrayed everyone, did something to the breeding pits on Mars, and caused all of the, I think it was generation 3 or 4 chimeras to fail completely. And what we found out is that that act is what actually swung the war back to the favor of the human machine supremacy. And of course we were left to wonder how and why he betrayed them, and basically the assumption that he went and pulled something off that was meant to benefit him in the long run, and the rest of, mutants, whatever.
Now, while all this happened in Moira's 9th life,
a lot of parallels are starting to present themselves in this lifetime. For example, over in Fallen Angels with Psylocke, they presented Mr. Sinister with this overclock device, and he was able with this device to basically enter into the fiber optic network. He was able to become, or he actually made Psylocke become data, or at least her consciousness became data inside of the World Wide Web, basically. And I could see them doing a couple different things with this digital realm. First of all, I could see, we know that genetic code eventually ends up being digitized from Sinister. He moves from what he's using now with these syringes to a digital format. And with overclock being able to capture someone's consciousness, that could actually render Professor Xavier obsolete in this process, where they no longer need him if they can somehow download their consciousness without him. Now, they won't be able to do constant updates like they do, but if you plug in before you leave the island and get downloaded, or have to do it once a week, that would eliminate the need for Professor X and Cerebro to be constantly going and backing up mutants. Something else worth thinking about is if Mr. Sinister during this, if he, with the overclock device, managed to enter that digital realm, did he somehow plug himself in and basically become part of that human machine supremacy? Was he, a ghost in the machine basically over there on their side? And I say that because I don't think he's above looking out for his own self-interests at any point during any of this. I don't think currently he's looking to go openly against Professor X and Magneto, but I think he will subvert them every opportunity. I think he will find corners that he can cut and rules that he can bend. And he actually discussed that in Incoming, that issue where Sinister mentioned specifically the restrictions on cloning. However, he kind of bent the rules and said, well, it's not cloning if it's not a clone. If I go and make something completely new, and he's talking about these chimeras, that doesn't fall under the rules that Charles Xavier and Magneto have, put upon him. We also know that of all the Omegas currently, he's only missing a few of them. He's missing, of course, we know Franklin Richards. And nobody can seem to find right now Legion or Mr. M. But we know if he gets his hands on that, on one of those three guys, specifically Franklin Richards, that is incredibly dangerous to have him running around. And I'm assuming he's going to start creating chimeras with that material. So we'll have to take the wait and see approach, but I definitely don't like Mr. Sinister running around on Krakoa. But say what you will about him, at least you can't trust him. The other one has been very interesting ever since he's entered the fray during House of X and Powers of X, and as we've moved into Dawn of X. And of course, I'm talking about Apocalypse. He is the second story arc that I really wanted to discuss, beginning with that handshake in House of X number 4. And I think it was number 4. And seemingly leading the X-Men Rogues Gallery, basically to joining Charles Xavier's Mutant Utopia. Since that handshake, he's led the mutant invasion of Otherworld. He has reconnected with the Summoners, who we find out are the children of his original Horsemen that have been fighting this ongoing battle in Arakoa, or whatever we call it, other island. He actually prevented a Krakoan law against murdering another mutant. Oh, and he rocked an amazing suit at this global conference while informing humanity that he was one of the reasons for the Dark Ages. So going into these potential storylines going forward, let's begin with the original Horsemen. This was a really interesting twist in the storyline for Apocalypse. First, of course, finding out that the world's first mutant was apparently also one of the Earth's first heroes as he battled back goblin hordes and sealed this crack in the Earth with Arakoa, the other half of the island of Krakoa, and that he has this relationship with the island that goes back years and years and years. So we don't know what's on the other side of that crack, and we don't know what his original Horsemen have endured. Well, but for one, we know that there's been an ongoing war, that it's led by his original Horsemen, and that their foot soldiers, these Summoners, these really powerful, they can summon these beasts from a portion of the other world. The assumption is that they are similar, if not the same enemies that appeared in the Inferno storyline featuring demons and Limbo and the Goblin Queen and all that stuff. That's pertinent because whatever threat this is, the Horsemen have held it at bay, but it is apparently, according to War and the information we have from the Summoner that came to visit Apocalypse, it's apparent that the enemy are coming now across the land and over the wall, or as the Summoner said, the walls hold for now, your children hold the point, but soon Arakoa will fall. And we know that this weighs heavy on Apocalypse. First, he embraces this Summoner and ensures him that he can and will save his children, those of Krakoa and Arako. I believe that this is exactly what he is trying to do over in Excalibur. One of the hints we have is that the Summoner's powers allow them to call forth beasts from the other world, so somehow they're connected. We also know that Apocalypse has not cut any corners as far as quickly securing the throne in Otherworld, going so far as to sacrifice himself and have to go through the resurrection process. Last we saw him, he was resurrected in a weakened state, placed Jamie Braddock's on the throne of Otherworld, and is conducting some kind of freaky torture procedure on Morgan Le Fay. And honestly, I don't know what he's doing or what he's done at this point. But in Sinister's note from the Red Diamond newsletter, Sinister Secret number 8 made it very clear that Apocalypse, the fittest of all mutants, would drop his current horseman for his original so fast it would make your head spin. So with all that, add that to the announcement that we're going to see Madeline Pryor in the Hellions storyline, and I think we may possibly be heading to a huge storyline involving these invading forces that the Horsemen have been fighting for a millennia. This storyline has great potential. Honestly, I wish Excalibur had a better writer on it, because I feel like there's a lot of potential over there, but it is what it is at this point. We're getting what we're getting. I think a lot of people agree that Apocalypse and his role going forward is one of the more interesting, if not most interesting, running in House of X, or I'm sorry, Dawn of X. What remains to be seen is if, like Sinister, can he ultimately be trusted? Even Professor X had to call some of his actions going on in Excalibur into question recently when he was pursuing his own personal goals, which, you know, as stated earlier, has everything to do with the coming battle, or it seems to, at least. Of course, we get to take the wait and see approach, and I fully believe what Sinister said in those Sinister Secrets, that he's willing to pay a price with those individuals on Krakoa now for his original Horsemen. I think that could be very interesting here in the near future. Last story I wanted to touch on is a storyline that I think could very easily be overlooked and very easily forgotten, but may have major consequences, and that is the murder of the Xeno assassin while he was hanging out in the Healing Gardens. Now, we can easily overlook this as an instance of the guy totally deserved it. He got what he had coming to him. He deserved to die after carrying out this assassination tip on Professor Xavier. I'll say that I think whoever did it may end up facing the same fate that Sabretooth is facing right now in the belly of Krakoa. If I had to put my money down on who it was, well, I'm still putting my chips on Colossus. Every single one of them. He had access to the murdered. He had motive because he has this relationship with Domino that goes back. He heard what had happened to her and what she had been through, and he personally, he wasn't in a very good mental state after coming back from Russia all shot up. Everyone on the island is assuming that this assassin just died of his wounds, that he gave out, not that he was suffocated. But is it possible that Krakoa or Black Tom Cassidy actually know the truth? It would make for an interesting dynamic on the X-Force team if Black Tom Cassidy knew and was basically like, yeah, I'm okay with it. Of course, a lot of folks think Black Tom Cassidy was the killer, or potentially the killer, and that makes sense. He would also have had access, but I don't know. When I saw, the thing that takes the cake for me is when you saw the hand. Dude had some big old knuckles. It seemed like it was probably a pretty big dude that was suffocating him. Anyways, guys, tell me what you guys think. Ultimately, can Sinister be trusted? They got him on the council, and we all know that's to keep an eye on him. But is he going to do something stupid, and have they got something in place that when he tries, they already have it in check? Apocalypse, same thing. Can he be trusted? And is he moving? Is he going to be an ally in the end to all of Krakoa? Or is he going to push them aside once he has his original Horsemen back? And finally, who do you think murdered the Xeno assassin that was in the Healing Gardens? Guys, I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that bell, like, comment, tell me what you think, guys. I appreciate you. That's all I got. Real Comic Stacks. Out.